Welcome back to the channel. This might be a shorter video on this project. This is the dog. This is what holds the iron pyrite. That's like a little clamp. What you do is you get a piece of iron pyrite and you clamp it in the jaws there. This is just a piece of wire, piece of welding wire. And then when you pull the trigger, this, they call it a dog, jumps down onto that wheel there. The wheel rotates and creates a spark. Spark ignites the priming powder and that sets off the charge. Okay, so this is called a dog. You have a spring. A spring there that fits in that, the little spring. There's a spring. This is made out of, they call it piano wire. I don't know why they call it piano wire. It's just spring steel, and I've welded a lug on there. You have to weld the lug on that fits into this little slot with a hole in it that picks up on that hole there. So that fits in there like that. Basically, that little lug, all it does, it stops the spring from flapping about. So this is held in at the back here. Let's get this right the way around now. It's on like that, I think. See, I've done this loads of times and I've forgotten again how it goes. You have to bear with me a second or two until I figure this out. That goes through there. That goes in there. That goes in there. That's wrong. So that's wrong. That goes. You'd think I know how to do this. I've done it so many times. You think it would just come second nature, but it doesn't. It's very frustrating. It's very difficult. This out. It's crazy. I've done it so many times. It's still. That's the way it goes. Right, so let's try that. So that goes in there. side. Wouldn't like to be doing this in the battlefield. Under fire, it'll be alright. It's got stuck there somewhere. Okay, that was a bit of a performance. Right, what you've got here is you've got this U-shaped spring that's, it's not really, I'm looking at this here now, something. It is right. I really need to extend that little lug a little bit further. It's not locating far enough into that groove. But it is working, but I'll change that later. So basically, you've got this U-shaped spring, which is acting on the bottom of this little lug on the dog, and that spring is pushing up in that position, so the dog is held in the rear position. When you push it forward, when you push the dog forward, that little lug acts on that spring at the front and pushes it down like that. When it gets over centre, the same spring shoves it onto the wheel. So you have to have a bit of spring tension to get it over centre, and then the spring jumps onto, the dog jumps onto the wheel there. So it's got to be like a snapping action. Now again, you don't want that too severe or too strong, or you'll slow the wheel down, like a brake. But it needs to be on the fairly strong. But that's the action of it. So it's held in the back position, it goes over centre, pushes the spring down at the front end there. When it gets just over centre, then it clicks back down in position like that. Okay? But I've just noticed that this, I didn't notice that before, this little lug on the bottom here needs to be a bit deeper, so it gets better into that groove. That's something, I'll do that later. Right, so when that's how that works, that holds the pyrite. This is kind of simulating a piece of pyrite, which I haven't got. Okay, so on the top of here you have this mechanism. And what this is a cover for the pan. Now what happens is, when you pull the trigger, the first 10% of rotation of the wheel, the first 10%, so as soon as that wheel starts to turn, this pan jumps back. So what you do is you put your priming powder in here, you cover the priming powder up with this cover so it can't get wet and it doesn't fall out. It's then kept in position with the dog holds it in position. The first 10% of 10 degrees of rotation of the wheel, this pan jumps back, the dog jumps down, pushes the pyrite onto the wheel which has started to spin, and that creates your spark inside of there. Okay, so the way this operates is you have this little arm, and this little arm goes down. Now I told you before earlier, I said there was a cam on the crankshaft, which is that cam in there. It's a little cam on the camshaft, on the crankshaft. Now that cam operates on that surface there, that surface. So when this lever is in position, you can see that part there. This is in the position that it would be in the relaxed in the position where the spring has just fired. It will be in that position. When you pull the trigger, this then jumps back like that and pulls the pan back. I know it sounds kind of a bit crazy, but that's what happens. So this little lever is held in by a screw there. It pivots around that screw. Now again, this needs to be, you don't want any kind of friction on there. It needs to be quite free to move. Now, because that's free to move, you don't want it flopping about, because once it's open, you want it to stay open. So this is held into position by this little screw. This little spring. It's cold in here, my fingers are not working. Little screw there. It's a bit cold in here for doing this. Anyway, I'll keep going anyway. So. Oh, come on, Derek. It's cold. Well, this is the reason I said I would take it to pieces, start with it assembled, and then talk about it as I was taking it to pieces. Because knowing how finicky this is, I mean, somebody a bit nimbler than me now, my fingers are all getting stiff now because I've got arthritis, so I'm not quite as dexterous as I used to be. Got it there, I think. Right. Not quite as, the fingers are not quite as good as they used to be. Arthritis. Legacy of working outside most of my life. Okay, so that little spring acts on the bottom of this arm, and it just, all it does is just takes that real slack feel off it. It's not slowing it down, it's not restricting it, but once it keeps the lever in whatever position it stays at. Like that, that's all you're looking for. You're not looking for a snap or something stiff. You just want it nice and free like that, so it doesn't flop about, and it's a little bit more controlled. So pan goes on there. Now this is held on by one pin here. Now I don't need to put a clip on the other side, because when this is in position in the stock in there, that pin can't come out because it's the stock on the first side, so it can't. Once that's in there, it can't move, although I have drilled it for the hole, but it doesn't really need it. So what happens is that that's in that position. You put the dog down. When you pull the trigger, 10% of rotation, this jumps back, the dog jumps down, the wheel spins. So that's what we're looking for. This spring on the ones I've done before and on the diagrams you'll see is usually up here. That spring is usually that way and it's up here, but I find it works better down there. So I think we can give this a try now and try and explain how this works. This little fork there, that's a guide. There's a screw here. That screw, this would end up in there like that, and this screw fits in there just to guide it, just to keep that straight. That's all it does, just keeps that from moving about. But I don't want to put it in just yet because I need to do other things. So let's give this a little whirl now. So that's in position, put the pan forward. Now the cam I was telling you about is that cam. And you can see how the cam now is right up against that lever. As this cam rotates, it'll push that lever back. I don't know if you can see it. That cam will hit that arc, and the first 10% of rotation it'll flit that lever back, which will take the pan back so the dog can jump down. So that's all wound up, it's all in position. You would put powder in here, your priming powder. You would close the pan, stop it getting wet, stop it falling out. You put the dog down, that secures everything. It's wound up, so all you're left to do now is to pull the trigger. So what we're looking at is this pan jumps back, the dog jumps down. That's what you're looking at. So that's as much as I want to do today. Next video I'll talk about the barrel and the trigger and all the other bits and pieces, the trigger guard, and assemble it into the stock. But it's getting a little bit too cold now, so I'll call that a day. Okay.